Alrighty guys, and possibly girls, but not very likely, we are back with another video. Today we're finishing off the switch light from probably about 2 weeks ago now. Did the charging port with the busted pins and the M92. Took a little while to think of that, couldn't quite remember. A few weeks ago now. Turned it on, had the busted screen, pretty scratched up Digitizer too. We're going to replace both of them because I got both of them from the old AliExpress the other day. So let's get this bad boy working again. Now I'm going to skip through or fast forward quite a bit of this because it was a fair bit of taking screws apart, which is pretty self-explanatory. So if you see super speed motion, that's because taking screws out is pretty straightforward. So pretty much at this point I was just taking all the screws out to get to the actual screen and digitizer, because they're essentially, with that front frame, you could pretty much say that the first piece is to be all put together. So that digitizer is actually glued to the frame of the device, so I was using a little bit of hot air. I turned the hot air station down quite a fair bit because I didn't want to actually melt anything. It was more about just warming it up, make it a bit gooey and soft so that you can poke it out. So I took the screen off first from the back. It was pretty smashed up. Just warm it up around the edge of that digitizer now to poke that bad boy out the front. Same thing, not high temperature, just warm, so that it pokes out without snapping anything. No, that's out now, which wasn't too difficult. It's all about trying to line up the new one now, but there is a bit of gunk in between the edge of where the digitizer was, so I've cleaned that out. Not that it really would have made a difference, given the digitizer is a pretty snug fit. Probably wouldn't have noticed it, but why not? We've got it out, why not? Just trying to line up this new digitizer so that it fits alright. The one I bought didn't actually come with any adhesive on it, so I did have to use some double-sided tape of my own around the very edges of the bezel to try and get that to actually stick on quite nicely. I think it worked out well. Snug fit, very snug fit. Sometimes with the parts you get off AliExpress and other various Chinese retailers, even eBay, these aftermarket parts don't always fit properly. So it was a refreshing surprise to have that digitizer fit so well. So it's got what are they called? Like thin sheets of plastic protectors on there, because we want to minimize the amount of dust getting between the screen and the digitizer here. So it was just a case of pulling them off as quickly and effectively as I could to try and minimize the amount of dust in there. I don't have any special setup for that, but it turned out pretty well. So the actual LCD on now. Line it up. Seems to fit. Just make sure those ribbons are in the right spot. Peel off that blue stuff, whatever it actually does, I don't know. And we start the reassembly process. very important to get those ribbons back in the right spot. If you don't, we're not going to work because it's not in the right spot. So far so good, I think. Putting that ribbon back in. Not ribbon, just standard looking cable. Don't actually know what that one's for. Haven't looked into it too much. But it was small and white, so I'm putting all the buttons back in now. Get the Joy-Con, left side Joy-Con back in. It's got the connector on it for the LCD, so quite important to get that in snug, otherwise it's not going to show anything on screen. Shoulder buttons as well. This whole side's got a few bits that are quite important. Definitely want the shoulder buttons to work, 100%. That screwdriver I'm using isn't magnetic tip. Makes it a little bit hard, but the tweezers help. They definitely help. Just getting all those screws back in. Pop, pop, pop. Works. Good stuff. Get the little ribbon back in for the volume button and the power button, which sits next to the LCD ribbon. One of the LCD ribbons, I should say. I think there is like tiny little lines on the board there which kind of tell you how far these things are supposed to be slid in. I feel like the bottom one looks like it slides in further, but either way, that still seems to go in pretty easily. With tweezers, that is. I don't think I could do that by hand without them. That's right, left, right, left, right, left, right, whatever side it is, speaker. So there's actually only one screw that holds that in. I did take off the wrong screw when I was pulling it out. Took off like the cover for it, which I didn't need to do. But this is actually the first time I've ever done one of these screens and digitizer replacements on one of these, so it's kind of going in blind, taking off things till things came off. Couldn't remember what I'd done prior to. So we'll get the main board back in now, enough for it to turn on, and just see if that screen digitizer actually want to work. So I'm going to plug everything in, especially that ribbon cable is pretty important from Joy-Con to main board, but obviously also digitizer and LCD itself with battery. I'm going to assume one of those, the black wire maybe is Wi-Fi board maybe, based on what the DS lights used to be. But yeah, not sure for 100%. And shoulder buttons back on too. The screws for the fan were pretty different to everything else. So plugged in enough, tried it, it worked. So it's a case of putting everything back together now and making sure it all works still once it's all put back together. Gonna replace that crusty old thermal compound because it is basically just dried rocks at this point. Use whatever to get it off. Like that stuff was not goopy at all anymore. It had been sitting out for that long. So I just picked it all up, scooped it all up with the old tweezers, It looks like a ball of blue tack. So get rid of that. Not required anymore. Out with the old. And when I find it, after cleaning it, in with the new. Give it a little scrub first. So it's the actual heat pipe. Again, same thing. Give it a bit of a scrub because all the thermal compound on that was pretty crusty and old. Just going to give that copper pipe a bit of a cleaning. Scrub it with anything. It's got a few little nooks and crannies that I'm just trying to get a bit deeper into. Those tweezers are pretty good. Not really designed for cleaning, but don't know why, but that's what I decided to use. That and the rag. Bit of a strange thermal compound as well because it's pink. It's not often you see pink thermal compound, but I'm no expert. Usually I've seen white and silver. Pink, bit different. Anyway, as long as it does the job, I guess it's all good. We'll get rid of all that old stuff. A little bit of alcohol. Scrub it. Again, not the best job in the world, but it'll do. In regards to getting the old stuff off. So I've got my fresh thermal compound. Whoop. That's alright. A little bit of a string flew over, but I don't think that's an issue. Try and get that heat pipe back onto it. Lines up to the top of the fan. There's 3 screws that go back into it as well, if I can find them. Again, screwdriver is not magnetic, makes it a wee bit harder. We'll manage. We will manage. Right, 1, 2, 3. Seems nice and secure against that metal shielding. If it wants to go in, that is. Maybe I had the wrong size. Let's make sure they're all in, nice and tight. What am I doing? Wrong screw size. It was so long I took this thing apart. So long ago, I took all this stuff apart. Like I just didn't remember which went where. We get to the final stages now, though. Got the heat pipe back in, just putting the last few screws on. I did put some thermal compound on the inside of that metal shielding as well. That big piece, because there's usually some on there too. Again, weird pink crusty stuff. We'll put that speaker in first for the other side, left, right, whatever it is. Pretty sure I needed to put screws down that charging port either side as well. Yeah, they seem to fit. We'll whack them into then. Would be much easier if that screwdriver was magnetic, but it's not, and we'll work with it. Maybe one day I'll upgrade. Today is not that day. There's the old pink stuff on it. Get that all removed. Put the new stuff on. Put it back on. So that charging port I used was off a regular Nintendo Switch. Those charging ports are slightly longer than what is on a Switch Lite. So I'm just going to try and even out the case as such. Grind it back a little bit. Make some space for that longer charging port. I know you can get Switch Lite charging ports now pretty easily. But I only had normal Switch charging ports in my drawer. So that's what I used. It's still the same port as such, just yeah, the length of the actual metal is different. So tidy that, but well, not tidy it up, but make it suitable to fit. Bit of grinding. Also used the polisher head. Don't know if that helped, but used it anyway for the first time, just to make sure to try and be a snug fit. And look at that. New screen, new digitizer after doing the USB-C port and the M92. Looks pretty schmicko. Happy with that. Revived. Working. Might factory reset this bad boy and use it for myself. Yeah, it works. Who doesn't love playing the Nintendos? That will probably do it for today. So if you like what you see,